everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're super excited to have you here today for our February 2024, our first release of the year. So this session is to go over the first release of the year for workplace service delivery. It's going to start off by sharing a bit of information. So even though what we'll be presenting today is released in the product and is available, we might allude to some roadmap and upcoming releases. So this will be under safe harbor. So we do want to make sure that we cover this slide in case we do allude to anything that will be forward-looking. So this webinar is actually part of a series. So I do encourage everyone to scan the QR code, which is on the screen, which will give you access to all the events that happen on 360 exchanges. So you can always stay up to date with any of our future webinars, but also you can take a look at some of the replays if you missed any of them and would be interested in catching up. So a few housekeeping rules before we get started. We do have everyone on mute today. However, we do have a chat feature, a Q&A feature. So we do encourage everyone that's got a question or that would like clarification on any topic to please drop that question in the Q&A. We can respond to some of those questions as we go along, and we might use some of those Q&A questions actually to bring to the group and discuss live. And however, we do have a session at the end where we can actually go over those Q&A and provide answers. Anything we don't answer live today, we can always get back to you with some answers. Also, this presentation will be recorded. So for anyone that can't join, or if you have to drop, or if you'd like to watch the recording, this presentation is being recorded so that you can benefit from that after the session is over. And last but not least, at the end of the session, you'll be prompted with a small survey to fill out. We really appreciate your feedback. So if you'd like to share any comments on how we could improve our future events, please do. And if you have any comments, please do share that during that survey. So having said that, I now want to go ahead and introduce the speakers today. So I'm pleased to be joined today by Arvid, who is part of our inbound product management team. He's one of our directors, one of the leaders within the product organization, and myself, so Elizabeth, I'm part of the outbound product management team for WSD. So we'll be the main two people presenting today and going over the features for this February release. So for today's agenda, we'll be starting off by giving you a brief summary of what you can expect to have during this session. So a summary of all the new features and enhancements that we'll be going over. And then we'll be diving deeper into an instance and showing you exactly within an instance our three major features. So the ones that we consider to be the biggest as part of this release. So with that, we have the QR code reservations. We have a lot of enhancements for window mapping, which will include a CAD management tool and the preview page, which has been enhanced massively. So we'll be able to go into an instance and exactly see some of those changes. And then we'll go into employee presence, the foundation. So a lot of you might know that employee presence is a big topic, a big vision of ours. So what we will do is for this February release, since we released the foundations, we'll be able to show you in an instance how that can be configured and how an employee can benefit from that feature. And then last but not least, if you do have questions, as I mentioned, please put them in the Q&A. We can go along this session and answer them as we go. However, we'll also have some time at the end to go over those questions. So to start off, as I mentioned, we're going to start with a brief summary of what was actually released in February. So at a high glance, we have the employee presence, so the foundations, where an employee can go ahead and define the routine when they expect to go into the office. Some of their collaborators can actually also create lists to be able to view when their collaborators go into the office so that they can make adjustments. Arvid will go into an instance and show you exactly how that works. We also have quite a few enhancements on the mobile, so making the mobile more easier to use, so having an experience which now is much more coherent with what we have on the reservation portal on desktop. So having that experience, enabling the employee to be able to have a seamless experience, whether they're using the mobile or the desktop. And with that, we have the QR codes, which we'll also go into a lot more detail in a few minutes. We also have made quite a few enhancements to the reservation side of things. So even on the portal, we've made enhancements to the recurring reservations and neighborhood functionalities, which we can also discuss later on. As I mentioned, we also have indoor mapping. So for indoor mapping, we've kind of revamped the Map Studio experience, so making it a lot easier for map admins to be able to create their maps, configure their maps, update their maps use the CAD files, make sure the CAD files are always up to date, and be able to export the changes made in this new CAD management tool back to the CAD file to make sure that that CAD file is always the source of truth. And then I'm just going to skip ahead to maintenance management. We've made one big enhancement here in enabling for support of multiple templates. I'll go into more detail shortly. However, this was highly requested to be able to have multiple templates, as there are a lot of different use cases within maintenance that require these different templates. And then I did not skip health and safety. I did want to mention health and safety. So for this, we won't be going into deep conversation about health and safety. However, if you are interested in health and safety, we had a webinar which happened last week where there was a detailed explanation on what was released in February. So the highlights being risk assessments and job safety analysis. And if you want to watch the recording of that, you'll be able to see it on community, and the team that actually went into detail there did a demo within an instance. So you can actually see exactly how that can be configured and how the health and safety team would be able to use those features. So having said that, we're now going to move on to the QR code reservations. And for that, I'm going to ask Arvid to come and present this feature.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And everybody, welcome today as part of this webinar. So the first feature that we want to go deeper into and show you a little bit more about how the flow is about QR code reservation. QR code scanning is not per se something new we have in the product. It's already there for quite some time. But earlier, scanning QR codes would only land you on the space detail space, and from there you will be able to report a case or doing indoor navigation, for example, towards that particular location. We are now extending that whole functionality, making sure that if an employee is walking around, and you will be able to add QR codes on all the different desks or the desks that matter the most, they will now be able to scan those QR codes. And based on that one, besides already existing functionality, like already mentioned, like a navigation or reporting a case for it, now also be able to instantly reserving that space by just scanning the QR code, doing some quick checks, validations, and then confirm the reservation so they can start using it.
As part of this release, we have two major items, which are the CAD management tool and the feature and the preview page enhancements. So I'm going to start by going over the CAD management tool. So a lot of organizations that have started using indoor mapping have mainly taken the decision to use CAD file. So CAD file is helping organizations actually automate the creation of their maps by having everything defined on layers. So having their layers created where they have their spaces on them with names, and where they can use Map Studio to actually have that automated. These new features that I'm currently presented are available for people that are using raster files. So PNG files, flat files, the process for those kinds of file is still manual. So however, with this new CAD management tool, previously when I was uploading a file, I was creating my spaces, and sometimes I realized that I have issues because I don't know exactly on what layer my spaces are, or I don't know on what layer the name is, and I'm having difficulty understanding my CAD file, because if I'm in Map Studio, I'm not necessarily the person who has designed and created the CAD files. So what we've done is made this process easier by including in our Map Studio, so within the Map Studio, which is the one-stop shop where I create and configure and define my indoor maps, we've included in the process of configuring my floor plans, a CAD editor. So this page, I'm not sure if anyone on the call here is really familiar with AutoCAD. However, what we've tried to do here is replicate AutoCAD. So the basic functionalities of being able to edit simply the files directly in Map Studio. So what we can do here is actually draw new lines, add text, see exactly on what layer I have. So I'm going to go into an instance shortly and show you exactly how that works. However, I just want to mention here that really this CAD editor has been added into Map Studio to avoid having the team that is creating the maps in the instance go back to the CAD file team to get information. All of that can be done in one single location. And with that enhancement, we've also enhanced the preview page. So making it easier for the map admin to actually understand as they go along configuring the floor plan, what actually is it that they're adding? Do they have any errors? Previously, when we'd create and upload the CAD file, we'd sometimes be able to import. However, we'd still get some error messages. So we wouldn't exactly know what's missing, what's not working, what's broken. So what we've done is, for one part, added a lot more warning signs. So we can see here on the left of the screen that I have everything in green. However, we have warning messages that can show up in yellow if configuration is not done. And I'll show you an example of that in just a second within an instance. And then red, I'd also have a warning. However, red would mean that I could not import my file. So here I can define exactly what I would like to have in my map. And as I go by defining, it's going to start populating the map on the right side. So kind of what I define is what I'm going to get as an end result. So I can see exactly, in the process of configuring, I can see exactly what the end result will look like, making it much easier for the map admin, instead of juggling between different pages, can see it all in one location. So just to illustrate some of this, I'm going to go within an instance to show you exactly how some of these features work. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my instance page, if this will reload. So for those who are not familiar, Map Studio is one of the major features as part of indoor mapping. So I'm going to navigate to my Map Studio. I'm then going to select the specific campus I want to show you the floor plans in. So for this, I've created a specific campus for this session. I have defined the building and I've imported 2 different floors within this building. So I'm going to go to one of them just to show you exactly how this configuration will work. So the process is the same as before. When I upload my file onto my floor, the first thing I have to do is edit the georeference. So editing the georeference is actually positioning my floor plan on the global map. So defining where exactly is that building located. So I can use the pins to actually drag and drop and see exactly how I want to position my building. Once I've done that, the different steps are to define the layers that I want to appear. So kind of defining what spaces do I want to use, what's the outline of the building, how do I want that to actually be defined. So I'm just going to show you one of these. So for the assets outlines, I have on my specific CAD file, I have a layer which is called assets outline. And this is just defining the outline of a shape that I would like to have appear. And by defining the layer type, it's going to give it a style so that I can see it appear on my map. And once I've defined every single one of my layers, the next step is then to add places. So this exactly is the same process as previously, first defining the georeference, then defining the layers, and then thirdly, the places. So if I go into one here, which has a yellow warning, for example, what I've done here is define, do I want my specific spaces to be defined either as points or polygons? So a point could be a fire extinguisher. A polygon would be a room, so that if I use my map within reservation management, the whole room would be colored. So if I want to use it within that reservation module, I could see it red or green. It could color that specific space. So from there, I can define specifically here for the room name. So this is these are the places that I would like to have visible on my map. I'm going to define the layer on which they are. If I'm not sure specifically on which layer they are, if I'm not the one that's created the CAD file, no problem, because I can go to the new feature, which is the CAD editor, which I'll go to in a minute. What I can then do is define the name template, so how I would like my spaces to be called, define how I would like my places to be styled, so I can use the catalog of different place types I have within my instance to actually style it. And by style, I mean giving it a color. So right now, most of mine are gray because I want a really simple map. And it's just the icons that are different colors. So I can see I've got desks, I've got fire extinguishers, I've got meeting rooms, they're in different, I've defined them as different place types. So they have different icons, which I've configured within my instance. And I can see here, I'm getting a warning message. However, it's not blocking the import. A yellow message is just a warning that since I want to create my rooms as polygons, so as a closed shape, I'm getting an error message because seven of them don't appear to be a closed shape. And it's going to show me here in red and clearly indicate to me on the map which are those points that won't be created as shapes because the system can't recognize a shape. So what I'm going to do here is look at those spaces and think, why are they not being captured as closed polygons? I'm just going to go to my CAD editor. And so here I can see my CAD file, I can see my layers, I can actually select a specific layer to actually only isolate it and only see exactly what's on that layer. or I can decide to see my map and then just remove the room names. So I can see here they disappear. I can select multiple. I can define exactly what I would like to see to make it easier for me to understand my CAD file. But going back to some of the room names that were causing a problem and not being able to be created as a closed shape, as a polygon, I can see that these two were part of that. And I can see clearly here that there was no closed shape around those. And so what I can do is use this tool to either decide I want to create a polygon around them. So I want them to be meeting rooms. So I'm just going to draw a meeting room because I want it to be a closed shape. And I can define on which layer I'll be creating that. I can change the text. I can add the text. I can actually remove that and maybe say, I don't want that to be a meeting room. That was a mistake. That's something on the CAD file that needed to be cleaned up. I can just remove that from my CAD file. I can then make all of these changes. And once those changes are actually being made, to make sure my CAD file is always up to date. If another colleague needs that map to be able to use a different system or do something else with it, I can also have the possibility of exporting the changes back to my CAD file so that my CAD file gets updated with all the information that I have just changed using this map editor. So that was a brief overview of the new features with indoor mapping. We are soon to be releasing a deep dive guide into Map Studio. So the full experience, just in case people are on this session have not started yet implementing indoor mapping. This was just the part of uploading a file, configuring the file. However, there are some other steps to it. So we will be releasing a full guide with the detailed step-by-step how to, by starting by creating the campus to finishing by creating the directions which enable the wayfinding and defining the view. So that is soon to come and will be posted on community. So I'm just now going to go back to to the deck, and we'll now move on to the next new feature. I'm going to hand it back over to Arvid for the Employee Presence Foundations.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So Employee Presence is a new functionality that we started to deploy as part of the February release. We're calling it Foundations because it will be followed up. It's part of the May release where we will have our full product available that goes much beyond what you see today, what I'm going to go over in today's feature. But for today, we want to go over Presence. And why did we build it? Because we want to make sure that employees will be, or it will be possible for employees to drive purposeful in-person collaboration. And in order to do that, of course, it's very important, maybe besides having some mandates that we definitely see more and more organizations are opting, but also they want to understand who will be in the office so I can determine better when for me is the best day to be there in the first place. And that is something that we will see as part of the February release, and I'll also demonstrate in a few seconds, where me as an employee, as a collaborator, I will be able to specify what are my in-office days, with who do I want to collaborate. And based on that, I want to be able to optimize the whole experience or the whole days in the office, again, to making sure that they have the most overlap when it matters the most towards me. So for this one, I will make do a small demo, show you the different capabilities there. And it's also a small part of a configuration. Okay. So I've now shared my screen. And you'll see that I'm already directly entering the meaningful collaboration page, basically the presence page. To take one step back, in order to find presence, we currently added as part of one of our items in the catalog. So if you go to Workplace Services and towards Site Safety, there is an entry now, new entry or catalog item. It's called Employee Presence. So when an employee clicks on this one, they will opening the Employee Presence page. And from there, they can specify their in-office days and also adding their collaborators. And let me start adding the collaborators because I want to make sure that the days that I'm going to select, and preferably my company asks me to be there 3 days in the week, 2 days preferred, and third day of the 3 days preferred, 1 day is required, 2 days required. And for that one, I want to make sure to have the best overlapping days. So for this demo, I'm going to add my collaborators. And I'm going to add 3 of them. I can, of course, add more. I can search for more. But in this case, I want Abram. I'm working a lot of times with Abram, so I can search by his name and I can just easily selecting him. Also, Eileen is one of the colleagues I'm working a lot with, and the final one is Peter. So by just entering their name or just selecting them directly from the list, you will see that they will be visualized from here, and I can set as collaborators. This is not a one-time action that I need to do. I also see that I have already Abel and Bo, but I can also return back at a later stage to add more collaborators if I want. So I can also add Carol and much more, or I can just cancel out if I don't want to do this. In the case I've added someone that I might not add, maybe I've added by mistake, or that I do not classify that as a collaborator anymore, it's always possible for me to remove someone. So in this case, I will be removing Bo, getting a confirmation. And from now on, I do not see their present states anymore, unless I, of course, re-entering them. So after I've been doing that, some information will directly be visible for me. So first of all, I see where is Abel or one of my other collaborators today. Abel has not set any in-office days yet, so I'm not sure what his schedule will be. But Abram, Eileen, and Peter, I do see it. And what I'm also seeing from here, if I just go to the right side, I see on the different days indicated with a darker color, what are their in-office days. So if I want to collaborate and want to have the most overlap with them, Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday, at least 2 out of the 4 collaborators are in that case available there. And luckily, it is also my preferred days to be in the office. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I can just set it. I can save it, and now my presence is being captured. Meaning, when Abram, Eileen, or another collaborator in this case will also enter me or add me as their collaborators, they now also see the confirmation that I will be in the office for those overlapping dates. And beside that, I can also see directly what space are they at. So if I want to find Abram, I see he's at space A20150. I can even click on it, which opens for me the location directory. And from there, if there's a floor map available, I can even do the whole wayfinding part. It's now zooming in to where Abram is sitting, and I can get locations from the first floor or the lobby area. I'm sitting here, just imagine that, or skipping that for now, but or let me, can I select that space? Yeah. And it will, besides throwing an error right now, should show me the route where I can find my colleague. So this is the part that is part of our foundation. Like I mentioned, it is really to boost in-person collaboration, making sure that I know where someone is sitting, when they will be in the office, so I can also make sure that I can optimize my personal days for being in the office itself. We're going to extend on this feature as part of the May release, so the upcoming release, where employees will be able to get even a schedule and personalized recommendations while being in the office. But that is, I think, for the next webinar, more than happy to show more information about that one. The final part of this demonstration is some configuration that you can do. So when I'm adding a collaborator, you see that all employees within the organization are visible, but that might not be required. Maybe you want to filter out a particular group or only make this available for another, for a group within the organization. So there is a property called collaborators filter. And by default, we're going to validate if user has the workplace user role and if the profile is active, the user profile is active. But on top of that one, you can also add more queries. So in this case, this is a query that they should be part of the customer service department. So right now, if I just switch back very briefly, you see that all those employees are in there, and there are a few hundred of them. If I now would save my configuration over here, which I've not done until this point, and I probably don't need to be that as a user. So sorry for that. Let me just inspect right now. Impersonate, because I was Sarah. And let me, in this case, stop impersonation. Try to go back to see if I still have my filter available. And if so, make the change on the properties. So yeah, the department is in this case saved. I will go back, switching back towards Sarah as a profile. And I will reload this page because I'm now Sarah again. If I would add my collaborators, you see that the list is much more smaller because right now I only got 2 employees. I got Eileen and Armando. I can add them one by one if I want, but you can see that I can now control who is available for me to select as a collaborator. And I can definitely, as you can see, limit the number of employees visible there. I can either focus on a particular department or the particular group, or I can filter out particular users to be selected in the first place. Thank you very much, and I will bring it back towards Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you very much, Arvid. Presence should be a great feature this year. It's one of our big themes for the year, so do watch out for upcoming webinars, as you will be seeing more and more of this in the coming releases. So I'm now going to move on to some of the minor new features and enhancements. As I mentioned in the start, we've got quite a few for this February release, and I would like to start with some of the mobile new enhancements. So taking into consideration a lot of customer feedback here, as organizations would like to have the same experience on portal and on mobile. So we've been looking at enhancing how we can get that mobile experience to also match the portal experience. And one of the items here was having all-day reservation. So being able to create an all-day reservation from the mobile. And by adding this feature, what we've done is provide more flexibility for the reservation admin who can, within the reservable module, actually configure a specific option for the all-day reservation to be shown either by default, either just as an option, so the employee can decide whether or not they would like to reserve for the entire day, whether it's a requirement, so they can only select all day, whether the all day feature should also be totally disabled. So this providing the reservation admin with the flexibility of defining exactly what should be the option at the reservable module level. And this would be both for the portal experience and on mobile. So if you define for the specific desks on portal, you want them to be only all-day reservations, that would also be impacted on mobile. Both systems would have that all-day reservation as required if you define it at the reservable module level. We then also have our next mobile enhancement. So here is saving the employee from filling in extra data, removing an extra click, removing an extra step from the request of a reservation on mobile. So having the reservation is pre-filled by the system. So if I'm an employee creating a reservation, it's going to automatically pre-fill as if the reservation is being created by me. And then I can then define, if it isn't for me, I can then decide I'm creating this reservation on behalf of someone else and have that changed. But just removing the extra step of having to me manually add that information of I'm the one making the reservation, it's going to pre-fill that field with my name. We then have another enhancement regarding the map. So similar to the all-day reservation, we're giving more flexibility to the admin to be able to define should the map be required. So every reservation should be done by the map. Should it be enabled? So if an employee wants to actually reserve that by the map, they have the option to. Should it be disabled? Should by having it disabled, meaning that button would not appear, so the employee can actually not at all use the map, or having enabled, so then the employee has the choice of, do I want to use the map to make my reservation, or do I know exactly what I'm looking for and don't need the map? I'm going to go straight to what I need. So giving more flexibility and enabling that admin to be able to configure it within the properties. Moving on to some of the enhancements we've made within the portal. So the first one being the showing seat assignments on map. So for this specific release, showing seat assignments, this will be permanent seat assignments. So from the location directory, from the reservation portal, or from the move request, I can actually use the map and define that I would like to not see the names of the spaces, but I would like to see the map with the names of the employees that are assigned to the spaces. So making it easier for me to not only have to go and search by one my colleagues to be able to book near them, I can have at a glance the view of the map and say, oh, the people that I work with are within the same area, within the office. I'm just going to book a space which is close to that. So providing that visibility of where my colleagues that are permanently assigned to a location, where they're located. So I can view that directly on the map. And that location, which will be shown, is if an employee has multiple locations within their workplace user profile, will only be taking the information from that primary location. So the primary location selected within the workplace profile will be used to populate this once the employee decides to display the employee names on the map. We then have an enhancement for the recurring reservations, so providing a score. So previous to this release, users would be able to define a recurring reservation for multiple occurrences, and however, would be able to select a space and then view the different conflicts that occurred. With this new enhancement, the employee can define for how long they want the occurrence to go on, how many occurrences they want, and then be able to use any of the views, so the map, the schedule, or the card view, and have a number displayed on how many times out of the total amount of occurrences is that space available. So here on the map, on the map, I can see that it's a 3 out of 3 for the space I've selected. So it's available for the 3 occurrences I want my recurring reservation to take place. I can also see it here within the schedule view, but also on the cards, I can see 2 out of 3. So I know exactly, as an employee, when I'm making my reservation, I can know exactly which space would benefit my need and prevent me from having to later on do adjustments if there are conflicts. I can know ahead of time, even before selecting the space that I would like to reserve, is it going to be available for that entire duration or not? We then have the restricted neighborhood enforced. So neighborhoods is not a new concept. Neighborhoods were released last year. However, just to give you context into this new enhancement, is that previous to this release, so I would create neighborhoods and have them restricted, have specific spaces assigned to them. I'd also have employees assigned to them so that those employees could book within those neighborhoods. However, there was a way to go around those restrictions and use the browse all feature to actually view all spaces, even though they were assigned to different neighborhoods. So within the reservable module, now we've enabled the reservation admin to be able to define, do I really want to restrict those neighborhoods? So only if you are assigned to that restricted neighborhood, you can see that specific desk. So meaning, if I'm browsing this by the neighborhood, I can see those spaces, I can reserve those spaces if I'm assigned to that restricted neighborhood. However, now if I select the browse all, the spaces that are part of neighborhoods that I'm not assigned to, I still will not be able to see them on the map. So I won't even be able to reserve them or see them as available. However, if I want to browse near a colleague, so a colleague is part of a different neighborhood, I want to browse for him to sit next to him. If he's part of that different neighborhood, I'll still be able to see him on the map. However, the system's only going to show me spaces that I have the right to reserve. So only spaces part of neighborhoods that I can actually reserve. So it won't show me maybe the space directly next to him because that is part of his neighborhood, which I'm not part of, but it will show me spaces which are close by, which I can actually reserve. I also mentioned we did an enhancement for the maintenance management module. So prior to this release, we only had the possibility of having one specific template. However, we do understand that within maintenance management, there's multiple different use cases and different maintenance plans that can be created. And by adding this support for multiple templates, if I'm doing the maintenance of a coffee machine, I'm going to have a specific template which is dedicated to the specific actions that will need to take place to maintain that coffee machine, which could be different from maintaining a specific printer. The maintenance of a printer will be different from a coffee machine. So I can have a different checklist and I can have different items that would need to be completed to be able to maintain them. We also have an enhancement within the space management. So providing more ways for the space manager to actually have ways of allocating spaces. So we have the cost center, we have the department, and we have workplace entities. So we're going one step further and providing that space manager, that facility manager, the space manager, to actually be able to define allocation profiles. So are those cost centers or departments, are they owners, are they tenants? To what percentage are they owners or tenants of that specific space? So we've added this to the product to be able to define more granularity and more ways of defining who owns the space versus who is a tenant in it. And this can be defined not only at the space record level, but it can also be defined, so space level, but also being building and floor. And then it can also be defined using map-based space administration. So being able to look at the building view and then select spaces and define it, having that ease of use and an easier way to actually visualize the spaces from the map and make those changes and define by department, by cost center, by workplace entity, the different allocation profiles that you might have. And last but not least, we included in our November release the concept of workplace entities. So I'm just going to give a recap of what workplace entities are, just to explain this enhancement. So workplace entities is a way of providing organizations with a tool to be able to define their custom hierarchy. So not only being able to define spaces by cost center and department, but also having workplace entity types. So being able to define my own hierarchy. So I can have multiple different layers. So I could say within my organization, we have the corporate level, then we have the executive level, then we have the market units, we have the business units, we have the within the business unit, we have different markets, and then below that we have different projects. So being able to define my specific hierarchy and have more granularity. So what we've done is enhance within the occupancy dashboard, which is part of Workplace Connectors, which is used to actually show and visualize the integrations that can be made with different badging systems to view attendance. So the dashboard, which is shown here, has been enhanced to add a new filter. This filter is the workplace entities. So not only being able to visualize the data of the attendance from the badge swipes within my facility, but also being able to have clearer reporting on specific granularity. So I could previously I could just look at cost center and department and then look at the date and for a specific location. But now you've added that concept of workplace entities. So also being able to filter via workplace entity. So if I want to look at the attendance for a specific project, which is my lowest level in my workplace entity, I can also see the granularity of that and view it within my dashboard. So that's just adding an extra filter to help with reporting and viewing specific data. And so that was kind of a brief recap of what we have within our February release. We do have a release blog which has been published on community, which will help you better understand also those the features we went through, but also understand how to configure them. So here we gave you a high level as to why we added those features, what they represent, and how an employee could benefit from them. However, if you look at the community blog or even our docs website, you'll be able to understand how those get configured. And with that, I don't know, Arvid, if we have any questions we'd like to address live, or if anyone has any questions or would like to share anything, please use the Q&A function. We can use the remaining of the session just to go over some of those questions.
Yeah, Elizabeth. So there were some questions in Q&A, mostly answered directly. I think there was one question open and chat was if the slides will be shared. And if I'm not mistaken, so maybe you can answer that question if they will be shared or what happens to this recording.
So the recording will then be processed and will be published within community within the next 3 days. So you'll be able to find the recording just as you signed up and registered for this webinar. You'll be able to use that same page and find the recording of this session.
Appreciate it. And there's one question from Tiffany open to where to ask, be able to hover and click on assigned space to show the map. Tiffany, I might want to reach out to you offline because I might have a few additional questions like what is the user, etc. that we are focusing here. In general, for example, if you're looking at the location directory, you can only click on the space, you can see who reserved the space. But if you are a space planner and you click on the space, you are getting much more information like who will be assigned to that location, what is the department assigned for that particular space, etc. So hopefully that gives you an initial answer, but besides that, we will connect with you for more details and a more direct answer. Other question I just see coming in. Yes, So a question from Amanda, will we at some point be able to see who reserved a desk on the map view? So so that is currently available by clicking on it. So there's already a property that you can enable, and if a desk has been reserved, you will be able to see who reserved that particular space. We are working, and that's on the safe harbor as part of our next release. So that will be the May release, to also show the name of the space, like the employee who reserved that space. So those are the two steps that we're currently in order to show who reserved the space on the floor map.
Perfect. I don't see any more questions coming in. I want to thank everyone for their time today and for joining in on the session. If you do have any comments, feedback, please do use the survey, which will be shared with you once this session ends. So I do really, again, want to thank you for joining this session, and I hope this was very useful to you, and that you do look at adopting some of these features and functionalities, and then get back to us if you have any comments or would like to discuss any of these features in more detail. Thank you very much, Arvid, also for joining this session, and I wish everyone a great day.